Lentra and CNBC TV-18 Digital Lending Summit, Mumbai, India.
I know earlier during the day we heard a lot of prominent speakers, and ensuring compliance and data security was one of the key messages I think all of us heard about, and that's what our next session is all about, right? Reimagining lending with cloud-native technology and ensuring compliance and data security. And for that, I would like to invite Akshat KB, Head of Enterprise Greenfield, AWS India. Akshat has been working with Amazon for over 9 years and works across financial services, telecom, and manufacturing to help them either transform their existing businesses or build entirely new digital businesses from within. Akshat has over 20 years of experiences in business consulting, solution sales, and strategy, working with a range of startups, mid-market companies, and enterprises alike. To host the session, I would like to invite Kanhaiya Gautam, Chief Technical Officer at Lentra, and is among the pioneer in building, maintaining, and innovating software applications and products for the company. Alongside him, I also invite Vikas Madhok, our CISO at Lentra. Vikas is another industry veteran who has rich experience in telecom, IT, information security, and infrastructural security related to projects. Please welcome them, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope the spirits are still high. Great to be joined by Akshat and Vikas. So we'll discuss a bit about technology, what role does it play, and compliance and security, and the data aspects of it, because since morning we've heard a lot about DPDM, the bills, and the concerns that financial institutions have when it comes to data, right? Now, the two key pillars of any business per se are the business acumen, which gets translated into products, and technology, which makes it happen, right? Which realizes the dream a product manager would have. So if we talk about a loan onboarding system and different journeys, right? An unsecured lending journey may be very different than a secured lending journey, right? Now, technology plays a very important role into making that happen, and with India Stack coming in and so much digitalization happening, right? It's truly the right time to offer all our customers, all the financial institutions and banks, a truly presence-less, paperless, and manual decision-less lending, right? So spoke about a lot of automation. Gen AI was also brought into the picture, right? Now, when it comes to technology, the key 4 pillars are technology, with which you build something, you solution something, and then implement, design solution, and then implement. Then it's people, though we have Gen AI and Gemini, right? The newest kid on the block, right? So though we have a lot of LLMs coming about, people, engineers are the core of anything that we do, right? Any business, to just realize it, you need people. Third thing is the moment, timing. So everything has to be done at the right time, right? So you have to ride that wave. Unless you ride the wave, it becomes kind of either you are way too early or way too late. The only exception I would I have for all of you is maybe perhaps Apple, because even if they implement something or some Android feature 5 or 6 years after them, after Google, I mean, that feature is met with so much reverence and love, right? So Apple, I have always found them to be very, very peculiar, and the love that they have of the general public, right? And the last important aspect is the tool set. Now you have technology. How do you use the technology, right? So you need the right tool set. So you have the technology, you have the people, you have the right time. Do you have the right tool sets? So if you don't have the right tool sets, technology can't help you, right? So all these four are the key pillars of technology, and for translating the business acumen into products, and to realize, let's say, a loan onboarding system or loan management system, various other products that you can think of. And earlier in the day, we saw some very, very innovative products presented by Anupam. So it was a very, very nice session. Good to see Gen AI finally powering some real world applications, though will take some time for it to come in banking, but good to see. Now, given that entire scenario of technology, people, tool set, movement, and the appetite, my first question to Akshat is, with financial services trying to innovate, right, and digitalize their entire portfolio, what is it that you feel, or how is it that AWS can help them realize that potential?
Yeah, thanks for the question. A very interesting question, right? So firstly, I want to start off by saying that both digital and innovation does not have a start line or a finish line, right? It's just that you got to make sure that you're running faster tomorrow than yesterday. If you keep that at the center of it, that's how we look at it, not just in AWS, but even within Amazon. In fact, when we started AWS in 2006, it was pretty much with the hypothesis that something such as basic primitives called compute, storage, networking will help us run faster in our business. Did that work? Probably initially it worked for really startups, developers, etc. in the first few years. But by about 2011, 2012, some of these startups itself have become really large companies. And that's when really enterprises realized, for me to differentiate myself in the market, really on the digital curve and the innovation curve, I need to be faster. And that's where I would say they really started adopting cloud, right? So a little bit of history there. After that, about 5 or 6 years, while they were experimenting with really peripheral experiments included things like test and dev, a website, a mobile app, etc. They realized that agility is needed not just for those peripheral aspects of a business, pretty much. You also need it for your data platforms, your core platforms, because only if you are ready at the back end can you be ready at the front end. The customer demands that agility. That's where I would say financial services started their, in a way, a cloud journey. And that's come a long way today, right? So today, if you look at it pretty much worldwide, there is no workload that a company does not want to move to the cloud. It's more about, I would say most financial services companies have moved from the why cloud question to the how cloud question, right? That's the first thing that I would want to state, which means you want to be clear at the senior most levels, is cloud something that's going to solve real problems for you where your customers stand? The second element, if you see as to what are they doing within cloud, there are multiple patterns, but broadly I'll generalize into 3 buckets where we see companies leveraging the cloud. The first is really building new customer experiences or enhancing customer experience, right? And that's a pretty vast, spectrum, if I can call it, which is primarily, if I look at, for example, let's take like an Indian example, like an AU bank, a fast-moving small finance bank. They wanted to differentiate themselves with video banking. They built a complete video banking platform where at the back end they've got 500 plus people servicing their customers through video banking, and that's built on the cloud. And they could scale it to as much as they want based on customer demand using the cloud. We heard Anupam speak about Axis Bank. They could build really a digital savings account, current account onboarding platform, which could onboard a customer in about 6 minutes, right? So while those are easy examples, today if you see, if any bank or any financial services company is looking at rebuilding any digital platform, it could be a digital mobile banking, it could be internet banking, it could be pretty much any new platform, cloud is becoming increasingly a default choice. So that's one big bucket. The second bucket where we see a lot of activity happening is really on the data and ML side. Anupam covered generative AI. Hey, but you know what? To get your generative AI journey right, you need to have a strong backbone of a data platform. It's not just for regulatory reporting, it's not just for operational reporting, but also for new age AI, ML use cases, which even might be experimentative, but you need to again have a strong data platform to even run small or big experiments. So that's a second area where we see a lot of activity going on, even with, for example, banks are setting up in-house data science teams to be able to run that experiment. The third is really core modernization. And core modernization is a long journey, right? And there are 2 or 3 aspects to it. One is, you've got this, most of the core banking systems that have been designed in the last many years were designed probably about 10, 15 years back when the kind of volumes that you see today didn't exist, right? But it's hard to modernize a core, because of which banks have been taking, and financial services in general have been taking various journey. Either, of course, ideally I would want to have core running in the cloud, but sometimes it takes a long time to get there. We see a lot of hollow the core strategy going on, where people are saying, if there are surround applications around the core, can I offload it to better systems, more agile systems, and run it on the cloud? As a cloud provider, we provide usually 2 options. One is, of course, you can modernize an existing application, or we work with a lot of ISVs in the market. It could be in the space of treasury, in terms of cards, etc., where they themselves make their applications ready, available in cloud native, the term that you used a while ago, available so that the bank doesn't need to do the heavy lifting of really making that cloud native available. So I would say these three buckets is where we see that evolution from a banking perspective.
So the next logical question, and that's a great answer, right? With government's focus purely on public infrastructure and AWS being one of the prime public infrastructure provider, right? What do you feel, what does AWS feel, what will it take for the financial services organizations to really harness the power of cloud? So how do you see that going in the near future?
Yeah, I think great question there. If you look at the government itself, I think especially in the last 8 to 10 years, the government itself has set the tone of, especially with India Stack, why, if at all anybody had a doubt that digital is a question mark at any point in time, government has made it very clear with the India Stack, just making it easy for every business. Financial services obviously has reaped the benefit of it, right? In fact, even in the government, for example, platforms like a CoWin, DigiLocker, something like a DigiYatra recently is all built on AWS on the cloud. So you see government itself leveraging cloud pretty heavily. Coming to the banks and financial services companies, the first thing that really I would recommend is to be clear on, at the senior most exec levels, if you're clear cloud is going to make a difference, you got to quickly move the entire organization from the why cloud to the how cloud phase. And that's really a lot more than technology transformation. It's really culture transformation. You've got to start thinking differently. You've got to start thinking about, hey, I am not just a bank, but also using technology as my core lever to offer a better customer service. There, I would say 3 or 4 fundamental things that we see successful financial services companies do, which is make sure that you have a strong security and compliance foundation in place, right? You've got to get that. That's absolutely paramount in the financial services industry, pretty much in every industry, honestly, but even more so in this industry. Which means, for example, you've got your regulations, you've got to map it to how will you apply those regulations and provide the same level of compliance in the cloud. How will you make sure that your internal process adapt to some of the possibilities with the technology in the cloud? So security and compliance is one big pillar. The second pillar is really governance. Your procurement mechanisms, your deployment mechanisms, your rate of change of applications, everything changes to the cloud, but you need to have a pretty strong governance mechanism internally to be able to harness that. And I would say the third is really skills. Cloud has a lot of art of the possible. It's much more than infrastructure. But to be able to harness that, you need to have the skills internally as well. Unlike the previous world where you could have it all outsourced to one service provider who would do everything for you, that more or less doesn't work increasingly. And that's where you need to also have in-house skills to be able to harness that. So I would say these 3 things.
So maybe perhaps you also kind of can do platform modernization first before migrating, right? Because that also helps.
Absolutely. We see that pattern as well.
Yeah. Now that, so very well put, Akshat. So Vikas, coming to you, a very important point that Akshat brought in was around data governance, security. And since morning, we've been hearing a lot from the industry seniors, from RBI, from SBI, and all the other bankers in this hall, right? So data privacy, protection bill, and with whatever is coming, how has Lentra ensured transparency and data governance and security?
So let me, yeah. So as you know, Lentra thrives on technology and digital innovation, right? And this landscape which is there threat landscape is ever evolving, right? It's ever changing. But principally still, the risks that in this landscape that we are confronted with is data breach or a data loss which can take place, right? Maybe some sort of a malware or a ransomware attack, anything which can impact your business continuity. And the third, also a very important thing is legal and regulatory non-compliance. Yeah, so legal and regulatory non-compliance. So for this, we at Lentra, I'd just like to cover some of the processes that we have, some of the steps that we take so that we ensure that we have a very robust and a secure platform, right? So this, we give a 360 degrees view to security there. Starting right from software development lifecycle, right? We ensure that the security of our code, quality of the code, software composition analysis tools are used, right? We also carry out vulnerability assessment and penetration testing of this code before it gets deployed, right? Any change that gets deployed also goes through the same process, right? In addition to that, you were talking about AWS. There are a lot of tools which are there in the AWS which we use. We use the AWS inspector which is there to look at the vulnerabilities, to look at the vulnerability posture of our EC2 instances which are there. Right. Also, we have levels, appropriate levels, access levels which are there at all, at our applications, at our databases, at the platform, through enforcing of multi-factor authentication, VPNs, right, and even PIM tools which are there for privileged access. Right. We also have at the network security and the cloud security perspective, we use the firewalls, well-tweaked rules there, and Cloudflare, web application firewalls to protect us from any application level attacks that are there. For example, SQL injection, etc. From DDoS protection, DNS security, right? We have our own GoTrust, top of the line, yeah. Identity and access management tool, which has got authorization, authentication built into it, and one session, one login. We also have extended detection and response system, which is there, right, to protect us from any known and unknown threats. So that's not all. We have a SOC, 24/7 SOC for an incident management and response. We have certain empaneled auditors to carry out our risk assessment, to carry out internal audits, and a very well-curated security and a training awareness program with phishing campaigns for our employees. But it doesn't finish there. You see, what is there? We are also certified and attested to a lot of certifications, because at the end of the day, our customers are regulated entities. So this certification and attestations give a certain amount of confidence and a trust to our customers that yes, security is a high priority for us, right? So therefore, if you see, Lentra is ISO 27001 certified. It's also 27017 and 018. 27018 is for controls on use and controls on PII on the cloud. In addition, we are also 22301 certified, which is from a business continuity management system. We are also SOC 2 compliant, right? So that SOC 2 compliance is a lot of our customers actually ask us for it. Right? In addition, in the roadmap, we have a lot of other certifications going forward. You talked about DPDP Act, right? So because of the importance we give to privacy and to data protection, we are also going in the roadmap for a 27017, which is a privacy information management system, GDPR, and also for the Cloud Security Alliance Star 2. So if you see at the end of it, it's a 360-degree effort which is made towards security to ensure that what the customers get is a very, very compliant, secure, and a robust platform. It gives them the sense of confidence that yes, they have a secure product to work on.
Very, very nicely put, Vikas. So, catching on that security and cloud native architecture or stack that we spoke about, right? So at Lentra, what we realized was cloud native is in the mind, right? So what it entails simply is just a breakdown of your monolith systems, right? So that you have very fine-grained particles. Microservices paradigm is one way with which you achieve that. Then with non-blocking calls, non-blocking communication, async comms, right? You achieve that. So as less blocking as and more async. So cloud native is in the mind. So at Lentra, we realized that earlier on in the game, and we kind of really focused onto that. And that helped us and put us in pole position. And we were warmed up and primed up well for us to kind of then go to a public infrastructure provider. So that's what we did. That also kind of reinforced our commitment to resiliency, right? The scalability and the auto scalability part of it. Then the full stack observability, which is very, very important, right? You should always have an X-ray of your system as to what's happening. So given all of this, and with your future roadmap, Akshat, my last question to you is, what kind of roadmap is AWS thinking within BFSI? How are you planning to work very closely with banks and financial institutions in the near and the midterm to kind of just get into this digital transformation bandwagon?
Yeah. Yeah, it needs probably more than a couple of minutes to answer that, but I'll give you a quick preview of the way we are thinking about it. One, we realize that in financial services, there's a lot of dependency on legacy, which is, I've already got a set of applications, landscape, investments made, my SI partners are already in place. So we realize we've got to work through it, and we see that in really three parts. The first is we need to work with the existing partners who already work with for example, it could be a core insurance provider, a core banking provider, or for that matter, a trading platform provider who've existed for many decades. And we've got a pretty robust partner program where a lot of these providers are available today, where we help them become cloud native in the first place so that they can make the banks cloud native. The second element is really the modernization part that you touched upon very well, is going in and seeing, before doing technology for the sake of technology, working backwards from what does their end customer need, and then look at, hey, what should be built, right? We realize, at least that's what we do within Amazon and AWS, we believe that's what you would want to do even for your end customers. That sometimes means it could be in the form of, we can help companies in the form of, for example, a hackathon to really solve, even define a problem and then arrive at a solution. Or it could be hardcore re-architecture. Or it could be just going in and saying, hey, what small experiments can I do to enhance my existing applications? And the third is really also increasingly startups. Many of the existing financial institutions want to partner with startups to be able to unlock that innovation, right? Because India, incidentally, is the second largest startup ecosystem in the world. There, incidentally, we work a lot with them. So what we do is essentially create forums where startups can interact with some of these large enterprises, and enterprises can then, of course, share their problems and really co-create solutions for the future. So I would say these three buckets is where we are very excited about.
Very nicely put. So just to wrap up, technology, tool set, everything is there, right? The onus is on us to leverage them to innovate and to succeed. Thanks a lot, Akshat. Thanks, Vikas. Thanks for your time. Thanks, audience. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Vinaya. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lentra and CNBC TV-18 Digital Lending Summit, Mumbai, India.